10 days before he died, Henry Kissinger called and said, not since Napoleon has Europe not looked over their shoulder at Russia with dread until now. Until now. Well, guess what? Putin thought he'd take Kyiv in 3 days. 3 years later, Ukraine is still free.
Okay, first of all, Biden says that all the time about the Putin thought in 3 days, but it was actually Biden's chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, who said that Russia would fall, that Ukraine would fall in 3 days if they invaded, which even at the time was a strange thing to say, given the number of forces that were available to Ukraine, to Russia. I don't think that was ever their intention, was to militarily take Kiev. Maybe scare them, but certainly not to take them. But so that's his justification on the one hand. But I think citing Napoleon as the last time Russia was or Europe wasn't worried, but they should have been, because Napoleon failed and lost in Russia. So I'm really not sure where he was going with that. But that's the mentality of the current administration, and that worries me.
Well, their grasp of history, what did or did not happen, and how things turned out is very poor. Again, as we've discussed in the past, before we did any of these things, no one did a serious strategic analysis of Russian capabilities, Russian strength, Russian potential. We focused on what we thought was true. You know, the old idea of a gas station with nuclear weapons. That's utter nonsense. So I think he's echoing these sentiments. But let's be fair to Biden. I don't think he ever thought seriously about any of it. I think he simply said or done whatever he was told to say or do. I think he signed whatever was put in front of him. You know, and then let's stop for a second and go back to the 20th of July. This General Cavoli, I think is his name, the Supreme Commander of Europe, made some really absurd comments talking about Ukraine has a really good strategic plan to win this war. This is on 20 July.
Yeah.
What planet are these people on? And
Right,
somebody said to me, is this man delusional or is he stupid? I said, no, he's not stupid. He's an intelligent man. I don't think he's delusional. He's lying. And that's the problem now. We have lied. I say we, I'm talking about the United States government. It's allied governments in Europe with the support, the collusion, the willing co-conspiracy of the mainstream media. They have lied repeatedly about everything. They're lying now about the Middle East. They're lying about what's happening in Eastern Europe. It's very dangerous because the truth will out, and it's beginning to come out. It's beginning to seep out, which is why you see demonstrations all over Germany, not just in Berlin, but in all the major cities against this war. There are good reasons for that. People have begun to find out what's happening. And of course, their lives have been destroyed. Their economy is ruined, all because we dragged them into this confrontation, which was never required.
You know, there's, I get your point there about the stupid delusion or lies, but I'll tell you one that probably falls into the delusion category, which in some ways is worse than the lies, because if he believes what I'm about to show you here, and I think that he does, because he said a lot of this stuff a lot, this leads to lots of opportunity for strategic miscalculation with potentially catastrophic results. This is, again, Biden from last night talking about how he sees America in the world.
Name me a country in the world that doesn't think we're the leading nation in the world. Without America, not a joke, think about it. I'm being literal. Who could lead the world other than the United States of America? Well, guess what? America's winning, and the world's better off for it.
Wow. America is winning. We're running the world, and the world is better off because of it. I mean, none of those things are accurate. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Everywhere you want to look in Europe, in the Middle East, in the Indo-Pacific, I mean, our positions are worsening by the day, and yet he thinks we're the most powerful country, and the world is following in our footsteps. That is dangerous.
In his defense, he is not the Lone Ranger. He has a lot of company inside the Beltway. The country he describes doesn't exist anymore. That was the country you and I knew in 1990 and 91.
Yep.
The country today is very different, and Americans don't have any control over their government. They're bystanders. They're watching other people make policy decisions. In some cases, life or death decisions in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, as well as here at home with the border. And they're never consulted. They're never asked anything. They're just told to shut up and color. And unfortunately, because things here have been good, we've had a high standard of living, we live well, Americans have tended to be complacent. Well, those days are over. Our standard of living is falling. It could fall very precipitously, depending what happens in the financial markets. And again, when you walk around and you talk to people, some of whom consider themselves to be experts, you still hear people say, there's nothing wrong. We can always print more money. And as long as we can print more money, we can carry this debt in perpetuity. We've got nuclear weapons. No one is going to challenge us. The possibility that we have a nuclear stalemate where any use of a nuclear weapon will result in what we all know is mutual assured destruction. Suddenly, nuclear weapons are not useful. They're not usable. And if they are used, the world will draw back from whomever has initiated a nuclear strike, and that particular country will be a pariah and probably will end up being destroyed. So no, he could not be more remote from reality. But again, inside the Beltway, you would think it is still 1990, and you have the same cheering sections. The people, I call them the Bombs Away Club, who think that every time we bomb someone somewhere, our greatness is demonstrated. Well, that's not true. The world is really sick of us. That's why you have BRICS. That's why you have 84 countries standing around ready to join BRICS. That's why Saudi Arabia has buried the hatchet with Iran and vice versa. It's why they're trying to build an alternative to the Suez Canal that runs from the Indian Ocean in Iran all the way up through the Caucasus, through Azerbaijan, into Russia, and then ultimately Europe. People don't want to be bothered with us. We are more trouble than we are worth. We have caused them unnecessary misery and harm. So we don't enjoy the position he described anymore. We need to come to terms with that. But to do that, we have to change our behavior. And right now, no one in Washington is willing to do that.
Right. Yeah, that's unfortunate that and